if we want to talk about affecting my bottom line revenue, I would say, I would have to really pull the numbers, but probably about 85% of my business revenue has come directly from relationships of some sort.
Welcome back to the Take Back Your Biz Summit, where I'm chatting with industry influencers on how they have found more freedom, joy, and growth in their business by taking back what matters to them. So I'm your host, Lauren Black, creative strategist and owner of Bosscation, a business retreat in a box to help entrepreneurs like you get away from your daily grind to strategically plan for your business. I am so excited for the summit, and hopefully you've also signed up for the challenge and the giveaway. It's all one sign up so that you can be entered to win some amazing prizes from our influencers. So make sure you check that out and all of the summit videos at takebackyourbiz.com. So I am really excited to introduce to you Monique Melton. So hi, Monique.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Hey everyone, before we dive into the interview with Monique, I just wanted to warn you that we did have some tech issues with unstable internet. So there are some times where Monique's lips don't match the words because it's a little slow. So bear with us, it does get better at the end of the video. Thanks. So Monique and I met in Facebook groups like a lot of the other speakers here, and then we got to meet in person a couple times. So the first time at the Savvy Experience Conference about a year ago, and then also in Baltimore when I was there to beta test Bosscation. So Monique drove in for it, which was awesome. But Monique is a brand strategist, a relationship coach, a speaker, author, mentor, and diversity advocate. So she is just, doing a lot with her business and her platform. And she helps business owners really grow with kind of straightforward, she doesn't fluff it up and give you what you need to hear. She gives you what you really need and not what you just think you need. So that is great about Monique, because she is the one I turn to a lot when I just need hard feedback on my business. And so she's been a great mentor in my life and helping me build my business and Bosscation. And, her heart is just for people. It's for relationships and your marriages, and for business owners to grow and to find that balance, between the relationships that you have and growing your business. So that's why I'm really excited for her talk today, which is Take Back Your Relationships.
Yes.
So Monique, let us know first why this is so important and why it's important to you to, talk on this subject.
I think the main reason why it's important to take back those relationships is because life is about relationships, and we are social creatures. We are created and wired for connection. And so to take that out of our daily lives and to basically deprive ourselves of something like that, it really shows up in other ways. And so it's really important that we make relationships something that it's not just a casual, I'll get to it when I get to it, but more like the lifeline. If you think about your body and you need water every day, you feel dehydrated when you haven't had enough. And so there's other things that happen when you haven't had enough of connection in your life. And I think those things can be avoided if we make it intentional to build those relationships, because that's what life is about.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some ways that we can be intentional and take this back in our life and business?
I think one of the most practical ways is we're business owners. So we understand schedules and routines. Put it in your calendar. In your calendar, put in there, check in on my friends every Monday at 9 a.m. Or if you're married, schedule a regular date night. That is something that my husband and I are even more intentional about now, that it's something that doesn't come so easy because we have kids and we have to make arrangements for them and make sure our nanny is available. And so whereas before, hey, let's go out to dinner, let's go to the movies, let's do this. And there was no bedtimes, there was no lunches to pack, uniforms, or any of that. So I think just making sure that though life is busy, though there's lots going on, schedule it. That is the most simple, practical, intentional way that you can make relationships a priority in your life.
Yeah, definitely. Now, do you have kind of systems and, a calendar app or anything like that you use in order to schedule these things in?
Yes. In my personal life, I really just use my calendar on my phone, and I sync my calendar with my scheduling app that I use in my business. So that way I don't, plan something and things get crazy and crossed over and all that. In my business, I use a scheduling app, And I use that so that I can make those one-on-one connections with people, something that is intentional in my business. And that, therefore, whenever I'm doing one-on-one meetings, or if I go to a networking event, for example, and I meet someone and I say, let's get together, let's have a chat, I send them a scheduling link that's dedicated just for those type of connections. And that schedule changes depending on what's going on in my business. Sometimes I only have time for one of those per week. Sometimes I can maybe do 2 or 3. It really depends, but I use that link to make it something easy and simple for all of us.
Right, definitely. That I love my calendar app too, because then it also sends the reminder emails out for both of you, and so that you can just set it and forget it, and it opens up your time for things like relationships.
Absolutely. And just put it, and you can click for it to go to your calendar, so you don't even have to think about it. It's awesome.
Yep. Now, do you have any certain seasons in your life, maybe when you've been launching one of your books or when you're doing a lot of speaking engagements, that you find it hard to balance the relationships with your business?
I think that balance is a myth. I think that it is almost like chasing the wind is just not possible, and it's wasted energy. I think instead it's harmony. It's all about harmonizing the chaos of life. And if you think about like a choir, there's people who sing the alto, the soprano, the tenor, and a little bit in between. And sometimes the solo is going to be an alto. Sometimes everyone's coming together. It's the same in your life. Maybe the kids are sick and you have to focus on, those relationships, or maybe you're launching something in your business, so you got to spend more time there. When I travel, I really like to look at my schedule from a wide span. And so if I have a lot of travel going on, then I make sure that either before I leave or when I come back, there's extra family time plugged in for that, to kind of, not necessarily make up, but just to remind them that they are a priority to me.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's important, because I know one time I scheduled a week of vacation right after getting back from almost a week of being gone at a business conference. And it was really nice to have that time with my husband to make up for the time that I had been gone right before that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So how are some ways that you have taken this back in your own personal life?
So when I started my business back in November of 2014, I was breastfeeding, homeschooling, and a stay-at-home mom, and it completely overwhelmed me. And the lesson that I learned in that is that you really have to acknowledge the season that you're in your life, whether it's, whatever that season, before you try to make really lofty goals in your business. And I feel like I really worked myself to the grind. And it wasn't necessary. Yes, I achieved a lot of success, but at the same time, it feels like it wasn't maintainable in terms of my life standpoint. So I had to make some adjustments there and make some adjustments in my business as well. And so I think that the things that I really try to do in my business or in my life or whatever is to make sure that what matters most stays what matters most. And I try, what I say is like my day-to-day needs to reflect my values. And so if I'm spending way too much time on something that maybe it's not something I value as much, then that tells me something's not in alignment and I need to fix that. And so I really try to be in tune with myself and my actions and my motives behind what I'm doing. And I think that that's what it takes. Like as leaders and as business owners, we can work with coaches, we can work with strategists, we can work with all these people to give us guidance, but we have to be able to be in tune with ourselves as well, to one, know that their guidance is right for us, but two, so that we can be able to make great decisions. And I think that's one of the things that's helped me be intentional in relationships, is being in tune with me, am I really checking in on me? Am I checking in my relationship with God? Am I checking in with the people who matter most to me? Do they feel love? And in what way do they feel love? And am I showing them love in the way that matters most? So I think those things is what makes that intentional, those relationships intentional.
Yeah, I love that. I agree totally. And now how do you, bring in your husband into these conversations about your business? What kind of, influence does he have on when you work and how long you work, and when if you do speaking gigs, do you check with him first?
Yeah, great questions. My husband and I have been married forever, and he knows me. And one of the things that we both know about me is that I don't like being told what to do. And so my husband and I, and it's the same. We don't give each other permission for anything. We're adults. But what we do, because we honor and love each other, is we check in. Hey, this is what I got going on. What's going on in your schedule? Do you feel like this is going to be a lot on you? You know, if there's things that we need to move around, great. He is the type, however, that I think because I gave up so much when we first had our kids. Like I was in grad school and I stopped going to grad school because it was just too much. You know, I stopped working. I was home. I mean, when we were military, I think sometimes he tries to make up for feeling like I had to give up so much. So he really never is like, oh, I don't think you should do that, unless it's something he's really passionate about. And I have to remind him, like, babe, I know, you want to support me and all that, but at the same time, it's important to me to be here with you guys. But if it was up to him, I don't think he would put the brakes on, like, even if he thought he could, because he can't tell me what to do. But we do talk a lot about things. And, if I'm deciding to do something, I'll tell him, this is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts on that? Or, because I love him and I respect him and I honor him, I'm always thinking about him and how my decisions are affecting him and our family, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I found that with my husband, at one point I was working crazy hours and trying to grow my business super fast and all this. And then my husband, and I had a conversation, and he's like, oh, I'd rather have you grow it a little slower and have more time with you. And that was something that I just was putting the pressure on myself, not realizing that, he didn't care about the income as much as he cared about hanging out with me, seeing me on nights and weekends.
Yes. And I think that's the same with my husband. Like, he is more so concerned about my well-being and my health, my mental health, my spiritual health, than necessarily the tangible results of the work that you're putting in. I mean, those things are great too, but we're not willing to sacrifice those, our health and our relationship for the pursuit of things. And I think that's one of the challenges that I think a lot of us just living in American culture there, it can seem like those are the things that give you happiness, and really they're not. Can, make things great and all that, but nothing will ever replace connection. Nothing.
Yep. So I know that you wrote a whole book on business relationships called Entreprefriendships. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, why you wrote that book and what some of the key points are in there.
Yes, I wrote that book. People tell me all the time, was it a long process? And the truth is, that book started off as a resource that I gave to my clients at the end of our service. And so clients would hire me to help them create a marketing strategy. And as part of their marketing strategy, it was to focus on building relationships. And so I know that it's easy to forget some of those steps that we would go over. I created a really simple to read resource for them to keep them fresh and on top of those commitments of investing in people. And so then one day I gave that training to a client and her team on how to build relationships. And I went home to spruce up the document a little bit before I sent it to her. And I said to myself, this should be a book. This is something that everyone needs to know how to do. And that's literally how the book, came about. It was because I believe that everyone should know how to build relationships in your business. Because yes, personal relationships are wonderful, but building those business relationships can feel very overwhelming, very intimidating, and almost like I just don't know where to start. And so I just won't do anything, especially for people who are not necessarily very extroverts or very outgoing or enjoy necessarily meeting and being in situations where they're going to be around a lot of people that they don't know. And that's even extra challenging. So I wrote the book so that anyone who wants to build business relationships could know how to do it. And the book is extremely practical, step by step. It's almost like a recipe for baking a cake. Like there's do this, do that, do this. And then obviously for those bakers out there, once you know the recipe, you can make it your own and make it your own style. But knowing the structure and the elements of it is necessary in order for you to get the result you're looking for. You can switch it around. So that's how the book is. It's like, there's lots of suggestions, there's emails that you can send, but that's obviously just a framework that you get to add in your greatness to.
Right. I know you are kind of the queen of relationships. I'll see your Insta stories about Monique will be at a cupcake shop and just picking up some cupcakes because she loves her cupcakes. And she'll see someone taking Instagram photos and setting up a little workshop. And she's like, wait, I know you. You are in my, I follow you on social media. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, they've got this coffee chat set up to meet in person at their house. And,
I know. That was so crazy. We were over our house like the next couple days, because I think it was like a Friday, and I was over our house on a Monday, and we haven't got a chance to hang out again, but we still keep in touch, text and all that, because I just don't think that people understand how much other people want connection. I think sometimes we are so afraid that other people are going to reject us or they're not going to like us, but secretly inside, we're all hoping someone will make the first move, or someone might compliment the shoes that we have on, or ask us to come out to lunch, and so be the first one to it, because chances are they're going to say yes. And if they say no, it's more of a capacity thing. They're not necessarily, rejecting you. It's more so they don't have the space or the capacity for your offer. So I think I'm having lunch today. That's why I'm like, I got to run after our interview. I'm having lunch today with someone. You just have to make time. And I know that there are so many things that you can do in your business, but I would never, ever want to be so focused in my business that I didn't have time for people. Never.
Yeah. And how have those relationships that you've built and been intentional with, how have they supported your business?
Oh my goodness. I mean, look at this right here. Here we are interviewing and doing this thing. I can't tell you how many either speaking gigs, clients, like if we want to talk about affecting my bottom line revenue, I would say, I would have to really pull the numbers, but probably about 85% of my business revenue has come directly from relationships of some sort. Maybe even more than that. It's probably like 99%. It's not, my fancy schmancy website, because it's not fancy schmancy. It's not my Instagram feed. It's not any of that. It's really those relationships that I'm building and cultivating with people.
And how do you keep up with so many people, though, since you do have so many business friends and personal friends?
All right, I'll give you a tip. This is my insider. So if you're listening to this, get close, okay? Here's the tip. Although I can't do this now on my iPhone, I have an iPhone now, but the Android, it was easier to do it kind of sneaky. So I would send group messages to like 40 people and say, hey, thinking of you. And I was thinking of them. That's why I put them in the message. How's your heart? How can I encourage you? How can I be praying for you? And most of them reply back individually. So it's not like this group thread. And I get to find out what's going on in their lives, because I don't have time to talk to everyone on the phone. But a simple text message is easier than an email, because an email can get lost. Although I do send emails to check on people. I will do those. But sometimes if I'm just in my room and I'm settling down for the evening and I'm thinking about someone, or maybe if I'm feeling sad, like one of the things that I try to do if I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling hurt, I got some things going on, I'll use that as an invitation to reach out and pour into someone else, because chances are someone else might be having a bad day too. So I do that. So I'll send messages to folks. I'll send emails. I also put in my calendar to do handwritten notes to friends. And so I put it in my calendar to do handwritten notes and send those out. That's not as easy for me to keep up. And I'll tell you that notes that were supposed to go out in February are still in my glove compartment. So they will go out next year in February, because they're Valentine's Day cards. Just so you know, in case you get one, it was supposed to be this year. But, I put it in my calendar so that I'll remember. All these things go on my calendar, but I also have a spreadsheet that helps me think about who I want to be reaching out to. So yes, maintaining the current ones, I'll email them, I'll check in on them, I'll text them, we'll get on the phone, we'll get together for local, things like that. But then if there are people who I want to get to know, I have this spreadsheet of names, and it's a free resource that I have on my website you guys can download. And it's, what they're about, why do I really like them, what is it? And so then I'll reach out to them, and I actually have a sample email of what to do in my book on how to do that. And that's how I kind of keep track of the new connections I want to make too.
That's awesome. That's like when I had this eye doctor that I'd only go in every 3 years, but he would remember what job I was doing and certain trips that I took. And so he'd ask like, oh, how was that trip to Alaska? And it always made me feel good when he remembered those details, because obviously he wrote them in his chart. That's not that hard to do. But the fact that he actually took the time to do that made it so much more personal.
Yep. And anytime I get on the phone with someone, last year I had over 100 one-on-one meet and greets with complete strangers. And I never let them leave the phone without finding out at least one thing that I can do to support them. And I don't go more than 48 hours to do it. So if they say, oh, I'm looking for a referral, and I'm like, well, give me an idea of who you're looking for. And if I know someone, I'll send a connection email. Hey, you need to meet this person. You two should connect. And then it's on them to do it. Or if they're looking for a referral, whatever it is, I try to do it within 48 hours so I don't forget, or I'll put it on my to-do list. And that is one of those things where if I'm just thinking of someone, I'll check in on them. If they mentioned that they were getting ready to, have surgery or something like that, like I have someone who mentioned they're having surgery, if I'm thinking of them, I'll check in. How's their healing process going? It has nothing to do with business. And most of the time, these people do not become clients, and I don't really care about them becoming clients. To me, what matters most is that they know that they matter, and that someone cares about them enough to check in on them, regardless if it's, for business or not. But sometimes they do become clients, and that's wonderful too. But the intention is never to kind of, sleaze your way into trying to get people to hire you, because that doesn't feel good to you, and it's not going to feel good to them.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, what about, have you ever had any relationships that you've kind of had to just let go, that they, you weren't nurturing each other? What was that like?
Oh yeah, girl, it hurts. It depends on, like, if you think about a Band-Aid, for example, and you put a Band-Aid on, and if it's really, really sticky and it adheres to your skin almost like it is a part of your flesh, it's like that close and that almost embedded. If the relationship is that close and you try to pull that off, that is going to hurt. But if it's a Band-Aid that's kind of been on there for a couple of days, it's got some water under it, it's loosening up, it's not that tight, you're not that close, you're going to feel it, yes. And so it might sting, but it's not going to hurt as much. And so when these relationships don't work out, the intensity of the pain is going to really vary on the depth of the relationship, but you're still going to feel it regardless. But yes, I think that when people show you who you are, you have to believe them. Who they are, you have to believe them. And if who they are is toxic to any aspect or level of your life, then you can still care about that person, want what's best for that person, without trusting that person to have access to you in that way. I will say, however, that it is important that we give relationships a chance. Sometimes we get hurt by people, and we use that hurt as a sign or a signal to cut it off without trying to address it first. And it takes a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability to say, you hurt me, and to then let that person try to make it right, because they might not try. And it's almost easier to just say, you know what, I don't even want to get hurt anymore. What if they make me upset even more? And so it does take a lot of courage and vulnerability to put yourself out there like that. But because relationships matter so much to me, and especially if it's one that's really adhered to that flesh, and it's a close one, I'm not cutting that one loose without at least trying to give that person room and grace to make things right. And it could be me. I could have did something too, because I really try to love people the way that they need to be loved. And sometimes it doesn't always come across the right way. And I would want someone to give me grace. I'm messing up and hurting them just as I try to do for others. But regardless of anything, if it's toxic, then it's not healthy for you to stay in it in the way that it is. But, so there you go.
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to communication a lot of times, and empathy, because as you said, like sometimes you might just be misunderstanding people and you just need to jump on a call with them rather than just severing things without the understanding.
Yep.
And being a good listener helps with that too.
And it hurts. I've had people just cut me off because I've done something that they, in their mind, calculated it to mean something that was not what it meant from my end, but they didn't give me a chance to talk about it or anything. That was like, nope, it's done. And so what that does for me is that tells me that person is hurting, and that they are probably very, very guarded, and they haven't probably processed some pain from past relationships. And it lets me kind of take it off of me instead of internalizing it, and to really just pray for them. It still hurts though.
Yeah. And you never know what their background is. I know one of my flaws that I will openly admit is that I am the type that I hate being canceled on last minute and having to, or being stood up. You know, if I schedule a coffee date with someone, I will be very intentional about making sure I am able to make it and be on the call. And so sometimes I've had people that cancel on me twice and no show once. And by then I'm like, all right, I'm done. Which maybe I should instead be emailing them and asking them like, hey, is there something going on that I can help and support you? Because maybe they, you know, had a family emergency and that's why they were a no-show. And, you know, so it comes down to
you never know. You never know. If you try to imagine the best case scenario and try to see the good in people, you really can help a lot of relationships, and you can help yourself from getting frustrated, because you're right, you never know. And then they could just totally be a person that's not very good at managing their time, and you know, that could be it too. But yeah, we all have our things. So we all have our things where somebody can rub too close to something that's a tender space for us, and we're like, ooh, I don't know if I have the capacity to deal with you. I mean, we all have our things.
Yeah. So I know we do need to wrap things up pretty soon. So if you could provide one piece of advice on how to take back your business, what would that be?
This is what I would suggest. The year is coming to an end. This is a perfect time to sit down and get a realistic understanding of everything that is going on in your life, from your business, your relationships, your health, everything. Put it out on paper. And this is an activity I actually do with my clients, where you write down all these different categories, like relationships, finances, business, spiritual, all those things. You do these different categories and you write down, what do I want? And you write all these things going on. And then what is reality? What's really happening? And then what's one step I can take towards those things? And don't just wait to the beginning of the year to do this and then forget about it. You know, if you want to be more intentional in your business and you want to be more specific about your content marketing strategy, and you write that down, okay, well, what's one step you're going to take towards that? And then who's going to help hold you accountable? So my advice, if I could sum it all up, is to get a real clear picture of where you are, where you want to be, and one step you can take towards that. And then you take that step, and then you take another one of it. And if you don't know what that one step is, that's why there's so many incredible, amazing coaches and strategists and designers and people who are experts in perhaps that one step you need to take. But you got to get a clear picture and be realistic of where you are and what you really want, where you want to be.
That's beautiful. I love that. And that's something that definitely is part of my core values with Bosscation and the challenge that I have coming up next week, actually. So if you guys haven't signed up for the free challenge, make sure you do so. Takebackyourbiz.com. And when you sign up, you get entered in the giveaway, which you could win a 1-hour coaching session with Monique that she is so generously offered. So, you know, I have totally benefited from just a even 30-minute session with Monique. So definitely make sure you enter that giveaway. And Monique, also, where can we find you online? And tell us about your freebie that you are offering. It's a relationship guide.
Sure. You can find me at MoniqueMelton.com. It's very, very simple. All my social media tags are usernames is at Motivate, M-O-E, Motivate. And my resource that you guys, I've mentioned that chart earlier. You can go on my website in the shop, and you'll find the Building Relationships resource. And you'll better understand how to use it if you buy the book Entreprefriendships, because it's a part of the book, but you can certainly use it without the book. It's basically a chart to help you organize your connections and the people and the places and all those things. So it's a really great, I use it in my business, I use it for my clients. And so it's a really great resource if you want to be intentional about taking back those relationships.
Yeah, awesome. And I have read Entreprefriendships and do suggest it to everybody because it is so important. As Monique said, 85% of her business is built on relationships. And I think mine probably is about the same. So,
awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much. This was really, really helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. Take care.